Hi, everyone. Welcome.
Hi.
I'll get started and I'm going to share my screen. And just know that you can be putting questions into the chat. I will not leave until everyone's question is answered. Greg, my husband and, Mega Kid Show person, is going to be monitoring the chat. So if you have any questions as it goes, and we will make sure we get there. I am so excited that you guys are all here with me. I want to make sure it is recording. I will do a shout out to Greg to make sure that it's recording. Hello, Miss Julie. Good to see you too. Hi, Nina. I feel like you guys probably are too young to know Romper Room, but they used to talk about and
Upper room.
shout out our names. I know exactly. Hello. Um,
I'm only 20.
So anyway, Greg will double check and make sure we're recording. And also, you happy to have your screens on. You don't need to keep them on all the time. Up to you as we go through. But let me jump in because I know some of you said you had to leave early. So what I wanted to say is that I'm so excited to talk about making quality kid shows. I can talk about it probably as much as I can talk about my kids. I can talk about it forever. And I really want to help you turn your passion into a global brand. So please take a picture at any time, share it to your stories, tag me. I will make sure that we can DM and answer questions just in case I can't get to them all here. So this masterclass is for you if you're overthinking and second guessing your ideas before they ever see the light of day. They need to see the light of day. We need to hear your voice and put your show out there. If I can do it, you can do it too. You're feeling
Awesome.
overwhelmed. You're stuck trying to figure out how to make a high quality show for kids that'll be a hit. I'm here to give you that roadmap, to give you the tools that you need. Or you're struggling to talk about your idea with confidence and with clarity. I also am here to empower you to do that. We have some tools for that as well. So, quick housekeeping. So, this is you time. Put your phone away. Let's focus. This is like free hour for you to really kind of jump in and ask the questions that you want to ask. I'll answer everything at the end. So, remember to drop your questions in the chat. Greg will be monitoring that throughout. Don't forget to say hello. Tell us where you're from. Of course, I want this to be interactive. And so I will try to get through this
Yes,
part
like Liz,
and
please.
get to your questions. Okay. By the end of this workshop, here's what I want to let you know. You will walk away with the exact process to define the heart and vision of your show to help you carve out your unique space in the market. You will walk away with my secret sauce to creating a repeatable and scalable show so that your idea has substance and it makes an impact,
I
right?
really want that sauce.
The 2025 approach to getting your show off the ground and loved. Things are different now. There are a lot more shows than when Blue's Clues premiered. And I want to make sure that not if you're putting this work in, that you're able to get your show off the ground and everyone will fall in love with it. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Angela Santamero. So I've created 10 shows for kids, including Blue's Clues and Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood and Super Y. And I've spent over 20 years, probably more like 25 years, creating shows to bring impactful award-winning shows to life. I come from a family of teachers, and so I like to say that I come to production through the back door. I'm a research geek at heart. I have a master's in child developmental psychology and instructional technology and media. And basically, I wanted to put the very best curriculum on TV for kids that you would find in a classroom. And we will never duplicate what's going on in the classroom. We want to accentuate and enhance and help to do everything that you're doing depending on the age group, right? So for preschool, I want to put the best preschool curriculum in a classroom. For older kids, I want to make sure that we're really drilling down and making sure that we have a solid foundation, a vision, a mission, and a why and a curriculum because we want to show that kids want to watch, right? We want to show that is enriching and means something, but that they literally want to come and watch it all the time. Now, I couldn't find a mentor in the industry, right? I wanted someone who I could talk about the process of creating a show with. I wanted to make something that was unforgettable. I wanted someone who could help me create a character or build an immersive world or create what we call a story engine in order to give my show some legs, but I couldn't find it. So I want to do that for you, which is why I created this program. I have been doing this for about 25 years, and here is some of my community. Right, this is Jen Hamburg. She started in Blues Room Research. She had a curiosity about writing and creativity. She wanted to learn the roadmap, which is what I'm going to give you, that roadmap. And she grew in the industry to become a writer for Blues Clues. She became a writer for Super Y. She became the head writer for Super Y. And she now created PBS's Rosie's Rules, that was just Emmy nominated. This is Sarah Wallenjack. She started out as a production coordinator. She grew into being a producer. She also had that curiosity, asked a million questions, and dove deep to understand how we research with kids and how we use research and curriculum to inform how to make a show really, really successful. She worked with me on on Super Y, on Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood. She became a development executive when I was over as a chief creative officer in New York. And now she's at PBS Kids. So she's shaping the media that kids will engage with. So there's lots of ways to use this information that I'm about to give you. If you have the curiosity and the drive and the interest to learn about this process, you can grow to be a head writer. You can grow to be a development exec like Sarah Wallenjack. You can go and create your own show. And if they can do it, you can too. I think I believe that because there's definitely a song on Blues Clues that's all about when you use your brain to take a step at a
Step at a
time.
time, you can do anything that we want to do.
do.
Exactly. Now, I want you to give me a me in the chat. Greg's monitoring that. He'll take a look. If you're stuck in one or more of these places, right? You have the beginning of an idea, but you get lost in overthinking or perfectionism. I've definitely been there. And I think a lot of us who are in this love that like type A personality. We need everything to be perfect. Maybe this is your dream, but you're overwhelmed by what you don't know. A lot of times we know what we know, we know what we don't know, but sometimes we really just get lost in the weeds of it. So I want to make sure I'm your GPS, I'm your ways to help you kind of get through that. You have a show concept, but you're not sure how to take that next step. So that's another piece of this, right? Which is, of course, I want to make sure the steps are very clear for you to do that. And you wonder if you're even qualified enough to create a kids show. And I'm going to tell you that yes, of course you are. If you have a unique voice and something to say, then you're qualified with the right methodology, with the right roadmap, with the right mentors, with the right community to be able to go and create your own show. So let's talk about why you're stuck, right? The industry will tell you what's trending or to follow what networks want, right? Maybe if you're writing, you feel like, oh my gosh, I have to create the next Bluey that just blew up, or Paw Patrol, or Gabby's Dollhouse. But the truth is, the next hit show won't look like any of them. And it will be a hit because it's unique. And it's unique, therefore, it's a hit. So I've been on all sides of the table, right? So I've been the one to go and pitch my shows to get them picked up. I've also been the one to get creators to pitch me, and I would decide whether or not we were going to develop them. But through this, I also would meet with people who were funders and networks and publishers and people in our kids media industry. And for the longest time after Paw Patrol became big, or even after Blues Clues, they were like, I want you to make another Blues Clues, something like it. After Paw Patrol, everyone was like, what's the next Paw Patrol? I want you to make something that looks just like Paw Patrol. And really what's fascinating is the next big thing that came out didn't look anything like Paw Patrol, right? It was either Gabby's, that was a play-based dollhouse play show, or Bluey, which is the softest, sweetest, family show. So again, all of these kinds of things you have to just get out of your head. And most creators are aspiring to start their idea based on what will pitch well. They're scrutinizing over details that don't matter or don't serve kids. I don't want you to waste your time doing that. They're fussing over who they will pitch to and when they'll pitch. Again, I don't want you really focused on who you know in the industry. How can you find that? I really want you to focus in on the creative and what you want to say, because it all starts with you. So what successful creators do, here's a little secret sauce here. They start with a clear purpose and they understand a kid's point of view. Successful creators also structure their ideas using frameworks to build concepts that resonate with networks and kids. So this framework, this methodology, this roadmap that I'm going to share with you, this is what successful creators have done. And then they start selling their idea every day. Literally, every time they post on social media, they're basically selling their idea, right? So you're not betting on that very perfect opportunity to get your show out into the world. You are doing it every day. Now, this is the process that helped me create Emmy award-winning shows, right? And I'm going to break it down for you step by step today. So step one is to uncover the heart of your show with my passion point exercise. Step two, and I'm going to go into detail, is to strengthen your idea into a unique and undeniable hit concept. And step three is don't wait. As I said, get your vision out into the world. Step one is to uncover the heart of your show, right? So it's this passion pitch exercise. So you're going to discover the true purpose, audience, and emotional core of your idea, your why, right? And that is important because without knowing that true purpose, your idea is going to be shallow, unclear. It won't resonate with kids. And then when you are in the opportunity to talk to people about it, you won't have all of those answers that they're looking for. So doing that work on that depth, which is really about your own heart and experiences and your loves, really is that important work. And it's really fun work. And it might feel obvious to think about what the networks want or to reverse engineer shows, but it leads to a disconnected concept, right? And you feel disconnected to it as well. Like you don't love it. I was on a panel once with a creator that I will not name who said to me, I was in probably season 3 or 4 of Blue's Clues, and he said, I don't understand how you can write so many episodes of the same show. He's like, I'm so bored. And I was like, you are in season 1. Like, what do you mean you're bored? And he's like, I can't do it. I just can't keep. And I just think that that's really telling. I think you can see it through the screen. And so you really want to make sure you love your idea. You're not just doing it because you think that's what people want you to do. And it really is something with this methodology that will help you go through it and be able to write hundreds of episodes. And also, I just watched the Billy Joel documentary, and same thing. It's like he had to write from himself and not listen to what everybody else was saying all the time, because it really took you into a different place and not something that became like every single track on his Stranger album became a hit, and yet the networks didn't think any of them were going to be a hit. So I want you to forget the trends and the networks and the marketplace, and I want you to be selfish because this starts with you. So this is your first step to finding your passion point, right? It's your unique approach to the story based on your life experiences, your interests, what you love, specifically what elements of everything that you love, right? Your unique perspectives to ground your story. And then you're going to keep digging deeper. Why? Why does this matter to me? Obviously, it makes sense that I made a show that had super why in the name, but I always want you asking why. And one of the things I say a lot is why? Why this show? Why now? Why do parents need it now? Why do kids need it now? Let me just give you an example. And this is the kind of thing that I'm going to ask you to do, whether now or later. When you do this passion point exercise, I'm going to ask you to do this. So this is an example. I was a babysitter. I was a camp counselor. I was a preschool teacher. I worked at a toy store called FEO Schwartz, right? So when I was thinking about and reading books, like there's a book about careers called What Color is Your Parachute? There's a book about The Vein of Gold, like what aspect is it of your creative would you want to be doing? So when I was looking at all of these things, I made a list. I'm a big list person. And this showed me that kids, right? Kids is a passion. And the idea that not only kids, I was interested in kids and psychology, but I had this love for TV and media and how sparkly all of that was to me, right? So, like, could you put all of those things together? That was the dream. I also got a master's in child developmental psychology. Truth be told, because Fred Rogers did, so then I did it. But what I really learned from that is that kids learn through play. I was an intern for production. Basically, if you ever work in any capacity in production, you'll learn really fast, whether you love it or hate it. So just even volunteering and being able to just be around what's going on is really helpful. In the research department at Nickelodeon, I learned what the network was looking for. So that's where a lot of this information comes in. In the development department at Nick Jr., it was like an understanding of how to give a creator notes and how they were pitching and what that looked like. And so that's where a lot of this information comes in. But as I put all of that together, when I finally got the opportunity to create Blue's Clues, I looked at all of this and then I really focused in on my unique perspective on all of this. Like, what's my point of view? What do I think? And this is what goes into your show. This is what I'm going to ask you to do. Basically, I love the idea that Fred Rogers would pause. He would break the fourth wall and he would make us feel like we were part of the story. So that was something that I talked about a lot in press, that Fred Rogers did this first. He was a genius at it. And so I wanted to make sure that we paused to have this pseudo interactivity in Blue's Clues to start. And you can see it in Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood. You could see it in Super Why and Creative Galaxy. I also believe that you should play along and have games, and that would be educational and it would also be entertaining, right? When you're playing, when you're part of it. Research with kids is an understanding if an idea is working. That's really important. I love being around kids, and so doing research with the audience was really helpful. And a curriculum foundation means that you get a high quality series, right? That kids will learn from and love, because that's the whole point. I want you to love it. I want kids to love it, but I want them to be better off for watching. And it's something that we can do pretty readily as we follow this method. And again, why? Why does this matter to me? Because I want to give kids a voice. I want kids to know how smart they are. I want them to feel that they're moving the story forward, and I want them to be learning and playing all the time. I don't care how old you are, you're going to learn more when you're actively involved in it and when you're playing. So now I would love for you to make your own list. You could do it now, you could do it later, you could keep iterating on it, but this is going to be to either if you have a show concept, it's going to make sure that your show concept really aligns with your own life experiences and your unique perspective, or you're going to really find that kernel with this exercise. So you're going to do a list like I did about your life experiences and what did they teach you? What did they show you? What is interesting about delivering pizza, let's say? Like, is there something there that was really interesting? Is there a story? Is there someone you met? What's your unique perspective? I believe that, that's what you're going to ask about all of the things that have happened in your life or the experiences that have kind of added up to this show. And why does this matter to me? Right? I value this because, I mean, this could be even really drilled down. Like one of my very favorite movies was Ferris Bueller. It makes sense, right? That he looked at the camera when the movie was over and was like, "Are you still here?" And I laughed probably for days. Like that went on my list, when I was creating Blue's Clues. A movie with animation and live action that went on the list. Grease was a sing along movie that was really important to me when I was little because I could sing along, I could dance along, I could be part of the action. And again, that really shows itself in the shows that I do. Let's pretend that you were a camp counselor. And maybe when you think about it, you realize that being a camp counselor helped you to see how kids learn so much from nature, getting dirty, being in the dirt, being outside all day. Really, you can see how much kids are learning, let's say. And then you dig a little deeper, and your unique perspective on that is that you want a series that shows that wonder of nature or kids going outside and learning and growing. Maybe you were dragging them through to go swimming, and yet really what they wanted to do is stay in the garden and be digging and creating things, which could be really interesting if you think about how that could be applied to a series. And maybe it matters to you because you value the environment and you want kids to learn and respect our planet, which would be a really beautiful thing. Basically, what we're talking about here is that you're going to take all of that information, right? And it might take some time to do that, but you're going to take that information and you're going to turn it into step 2, which is to strengthen your idea into a unique and undeniable hit concept, right? You're going to turn your spark into a scalable, repeatable concept that becomes a global brand. Because a few loose scribbles, they're not enough for the audience to connect. And there's nothing like when you write something and you create something in your head. I always think about like putting on shows in my basement. The idea that it actually gets out in the world, there's nothing like that. So I definitely encourage people to try to do it, to follow this methodology because it's just such a wonderful thing. Um, but I don't want you to overcomplicate your idea, right? I don't want you to do elements or features that are hard to explain or hard to pitch. Like I don't want you to get lost on your way, right? So what do you need to do instead? You want to strengthen your idea because this would allow you to create 100 episodes from your idea. This was kind of what I whispered to the creator that was sitting next to me about how to dig a little bit deeper to create more episodes from this idea that he had. Use a consistent structure and theme that everyone can easily understand, right? And I'll tell you what that means. And align your concept with educational frameworks and child psychology. I don't think you have to be an expert in this at all, but understanding kids and aligning it with the audience that you're trying to talk to is going to literally make your idea take off. Because at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is make it repeatable. The story engine allows you to make the show repeatable. It makes it memorable and it makes it impactful. And these are the 3 things, if you remember anything, these are the 3 things that are probably the most important, right? You want something that people can't stop thinking about, right? That it's one of those things that is really memorable and that you can see the difference when kids are playing with this idea, that they end up playing with it well after maybe you read them your story, right? It's very impactful. But let me give you a little top line of the story engine. They're basically repeatable elements of your show that create the arc, right? Of your vision, your mission, your curriculum. And it ensures that your concept has legs, right? That it's sticky, that it's memorable. For Daniel, the story engine is the mission and the vision of Fred Rogers' socio-emotional curriculum, right? Emotions, what is mentionable is manageable, but it's also his music that we had the honor of using. So in every episode, Daniel has a problem. He learns a little musical strategy from an adult. To solve it, he has another problem. He uses the musical strategy by himself to try to solve it. And then at the end, we celebrate the solution to the problem with a longer musical song in that same vein. And we do it all again in the second 11 minutes. Same musical strategy, but completely different stories. And so that's what if you dig into it, that's like the meat of that story engine. So for Grown-Ups Come Back was an episode that we talked about for a really long time. And when we were in research, we brought the episode in. And this little boy, like it was the beginning of preschool. This was a story where Daniel was being dropped off by Dad Tiger on his first day of preschool. And we went into a preschool classroom really early, like in September. So this little boy is watching and he looks at me and he's got these tears like welling up in his eyes. And I was like, oh my God, we're going to make kids cry. I don't want to make kids cry. And he looked at me and he goes, my grown-up's going to come back. My grown-up's going to come back. So it was one of those moments where we had written something that was so equal to what they were going through. And then because we repeated the structure all the way through, it really helped it to be memorable and impactful. And then of course, repeatable because he repeated it back to me. Each paw print is our story engine, right? We have 3 clues, which is the beginning of every act of our story, the beginning, the middle, and the end, right? No matter what happens, we have clues in our episodes, right? So each clue is always represented by a blue paw print, unless they're magenta's clues, and then they're magenta. Those are the same each and every episode, but the items we clue are different. And then we always put the clues together in our thinking chair and solve the question of the day. Now, there are other repeatable things that we do, right? We have mail time, we have skidoo moments, but this is that narrative arc that will take you through to know that we're going to solve this mystery by the end. Really early visual here of early Steve with hair. And we're answering what story does Blue want to hear with a pig, with bricks, and with a wolf? And it was
3 little pigs.
awesome. For Super Why, also just a quick thing about this, we wanted kids to learn to read with superheroes who have the power to read, right? So what we wanted to do was to showcase that reading is a resource for life. You can actually read a book. You can learn through these other characters about how to solve problems for yourself. And so our arc there, our story engine, is discovering a problem in the real world. We soar into a book to learn a similar problem. We use our reading skills to discover the why of the story and then solve the problem in the real world. We also have another story engine within that one, where in every episode we also always do a letter identification alpha pig game. We always do either a Wonder Red or a Princess Presto game to do word encoding or word decoding. And then we always end with a Super Y game, which is reading comprehension. So like, not to go digging deep into the curriculum, but there was also a rhyme and a reason to learn how to read. And then to use 3 Little Pigs again, basically for Super Y, what we did was that Jill from Jack and Jill had a problem with Pig in the beginning, and she was not being very nice. And so we jump into the 3 Little Pigs to find the wolf, who's also not being very nice. And when we finally find the wolf using our superhero reading skills, the super readers find the wolf, and we find out that he's just really sad and he doesn't have any friends. And then this enables Pig to think about his problem and befriend Jill and solve his problem for now. So what I just wanted to say is that a mission, vision, and clear story engine, your show isn't just an idea, right? It becomes a brand. It becomes a fully fledged show concept. And that's what takes your spark into that concept that will inspire audiences and also get you fundraisers. It gets you networks who would want to be interested in, and also it's something that as the showrunner of your team, as the quarterback of your show, you want to be able to communicate this vision and mission to your team who's going to help you bring that to life. If you've done the steps up until now, basically we've turned our spark into a full-fledged concept, right? But the truth is our industry is changing, and I have to talk about that, right? So how do we break through and make our dreams come true? Again, when Blue's Clues started, there were very few shows, and now there's thousands of shows for kids to choose from. So even in that realm of competition, it's like, how do you break through? Step 3 is don't wait. Get your vision out into the world. So turn conversations into opportunities. Don't wait for them to come to you. Don't wait to be in the room where it happens. You need to create the room where it happens. So you need to be pitching your idea all the time. And I'm not saying like give every single detail all the time, but you're inspiring, you're giving your log line, you're giving your passion, you're giving your vision. The more you share it in every opportunity, you will meet people who can help you make it a reality, right? Whether that's a meeting with Netflix or a publishing company or a game developer, you might go and read the Kinscreen magazine or go to any of their meetups or the Children's Media Association. And it could just be at any sort of, you're talking to a friend who happens to know somebody who knows somebody. Like, you just need to get it out in the world to start. Because the key is being flexible in this day and age, right? Use your story engine to create a 360-degree idea, which means you can see it on TV, but you can see it on any screen, right? You can see it as a live show. You can see that it could make a great storybook. You've built a world so immersive, it could be a Roblox game. So basically, another colleague who was producing, who I met, she started as my assistant. She grew in the industry, and she recently had an idea for a show concept that she then focused in and turned it into a book that she got self-published on the Amazon Kindle, I think it's like Kindle app. Being flexible, that's where it starts. Doesn't mean it can't become a TV show, but right now that's where it started, to get it out into the hands of kids. Thinking there's only one way to pitch your show narrows your focus, right? And overloading your pitch deck with unnecessary details or betting on one meeting for your idea to get picked up is debilitating. It's really hard. You don't want to be doing all of this work for years, let's say, only to find out that maybe your show is a science show and nobody wants a science show right now. Like what? So you want to make sure that you really are doing your research, talking to everybody, and understanding how to articulate this passionate idea out into the world. So you want to focus on your concept, the key message, the emotional hook, the passion pitch. You want to communicate your concept, you want to get some feedback, and you want to pitch every single day, right? Social posts, casual conversations, network opportunities, because at the end of the day, you are pitching you, because people invest in you more than they even invest in a show idea. Because as I said earlier, you're the quarterback. They want to know that you can deliver on your idea, that you've done your homework, that you know how to hire type A people, let's say, or you're open to being flexible, you're open to having partners, you're open to wanting to get this idea out into the world, and they see it and they just need to be around it. Yeah, let's talk about her because she's a genius. She built a positively engaging, educational, interactive brand on YouTube. She did her research. She read every single thing. She has a background in psychology. She collaborated with her music composer husband. She built a show on YouTube, right? Because that's where kids are. And also, she was creating a show that was very different than anything the networks were looking for at the time, right? And so she started small, and then she grew it into this huge 360 brand that can go anywhere. And she's now using her voice to advocate for kids everywhere. So it's definitely somebody to look into in terms of her story. And she's everywhere in press right now, too.
Yeah, I've been following her.
Yeah, exactly. How to uncover the heart of your show, how to strengthen your idea so it's undeniable, how to pitch with vision and confidence. But here's the truth, frameworks and theories alone aren't enough, right? Many creators still get stuck even with all the right tools. They try to piece together the free resources. What's everyone saying on social? What's the research on how kids learn from media? What does it all mean? How do I apply it specifically to my show, right? They don't know maybe how to implement the research with kids or where to find the kids to do the research. Maybe you've tested your idea with kids, but you don't know how to apply the feedback. Or why does a live show experience not translate one-to-one to a show concept? Like there's a ton of questions, right? Maybe you lack feedback or support to refine your concept. Where's your mentor? Where's your community? How do I do the work to refine, iterate, make this a really big hit? And that's exactly why I created the Make a Kid Show method and program. It's a two-part immersive experience for aspiring creators, writers, and educators, students who want to develop a high-quality kid show brand without guesswork or overwhelm. So you follow this 12-step system to transform your spark into the next big idea in kids media. What we do is nurture and nourish your idea. We develop characters, immersive worlds, more about story engine and story recipe, and you'll walk away with a show idea that has all of the industry approved elements and pitch ready qualities. And this is the exact method I use to create Blue's Clues and help others land shows on Netflix or Amazon or Apple or PBS Kids. So what's inside? Part one is the idea blueprint, where you develop and nurture your idea rooted in your passions and your unique story. Those are 12 digital models with Ask Angela segments and behind the scenes info. Part two is the show blueprint, which is the characters' worlds. Finalize your idea inside an industry approved pitch deck. And again, 12 digital models with a bonus and a pitch deck template. Here's an example. These are the modules in part one. Here is a list of the modules in part two. And what you also get if you join now, You unlock access to live Q&A sessions for personalized feedback. You get 2 workbooks full of exercises, tips, and tricks to create the next big hit. And yes, those are my girls when they were little, Ella and Hope. You get a private community for sharing, encouragement, and accountability. And some of those people in the community are here today. So if you in the chat say who you are, people can ask you questions about how it's been for you being part of the community, which I love so much. They're amazing and inspirational and creative and also really, really positive with each other. And when you join this round, you get a bonus child development digital model. Think like a kid, write like a pro. Basically, it's everything that I think child development meets storytelling. So you don't necessarily need to go out and get a master's. I'm going to tell you what pieces of it are really interesting to focus in on, to read more about, and how it impacts your show concept. You can bring your passion to life for $1,299 to access everything. And that is limited time pricing. It's just available for you guys, and it's available until Monday, 8/11. That's a savings of $695. So Greg is going to put the link in the chat so you can secure your spot if he hasn't already. He will make sure that it's in the chat. But let me tell you what some of our students are saying. Gracie's a current student right now. Talks about, which is so sweet. She said that Angela helps you explore the themes you're truly passionate about and emphasizes how much more impactful your work will be when it aligns with your mission. She brings years of experience to this course, and I'm so grateful for her guidance and support. Thank you, Grace. Don't forget, I'm going to answer all of your questions as well if you have questions, so put them in the chat. I will make sure I go through every question at the end. Chris, who's also a current student, said that the workbook, he loves the workbook. It's a great tool. I love the workbook too. It's interactive, right? There's nothing like you listen to these videos, great, but when you really have to apply it to your own work and you have to do that interactive work, it really takes things to the next level. He loves the idea of bringing creators together in one space. And he's grateful for someone with my experience and perspective guiding us. So he sincerely appreciates the thought and care I've put into the course. Thank you, Chris. Melania says, something asleep inside of me woke up. I love this one, Melania, special. I found myself even crying because something that was asleep inside of me woke up, and that's the passion point. Angela is the perfect teacher. I'm so happy to have her as a teacher. And if you're thinking about doing this course, please do it. You're not going to regret that decision. Thank you, Melania. As far as I'm concerned, you deserve a process that fuels your creativity, right? It brings this high quality story to life. That's your story, only the one that you can tell, and one that's ready for real visibility, right? Real traction, real opportunity. And I want you to have a community that believes in your vision too. There's nothing like that. That's probably one of my favorite things in growing up in this industry was that I had a community that really was somebody who they understood that what the dreams were and what we all wanted to do. And I have to tell you now, 25 years later, everyone's running networks and doing their things, and we do have this bond. And so I do think a community is just invaluable, and I love that. So let's build your show and your legacy. But of course, I think you have questions based on how the community works. These are like frequently asked. Really quick, I'll go through this while you take some time to write your questions in the chat as well. You have access to everyone in the community digitally to ask questions, to share resources, and get feedback on your work. Once a month, we have a monthly live video session, and we share updates, we ask questions, and we get tips, insights, and feedback from me. It is my favorite meeting of the month, and it really is amazing to get this kind of supportive group to all talk about what they're passionate about. I also get asked, what exactly is the workbook and do I even need it? Yes. it's a useful tool consisting of much of the work that I've done over the years, right? So I put this together. I've never done it before, but it's all the questions that I would ask as you're going through creating something new. You know, Mr. Rogers, after he died, his company came to me and said, you know, he really didn't like anything that was on TV for kids, but he liked Blue's Clues because he could see the child development in it. So what would you do to promote his legacy? So I cried, basically. But then I really dug deep and asked myself the questions that you'll find in the workbook to try to drill down to what kind of show Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood would end up being to help promote Fred's legacy. So I've never shared these before, but I really did decide it was time to put them together into a resource for you. What if I already have an idea and a show concept? Awesome. The series will help you refine it and iterate on it and ensure that it lands. The truth is, and we've said this earlier, we don't know what we don't know. And when we pitch a concept out in the world, we don't always get real feedback. People don't always tell us exactly why something might not move forward. But that's what we do, and that's how we can help you take things to the next level. Will you review my idea? Yes, for creators who want feedback on their concept, there's an option to have me review your idea and or show concept once you've gone through the program. It's really great. How much time do I have to finish the classes and the workbook? You have access to it for 12 months, the curriculum and the community. And we encourage you to work through the series at your own pace. I'm a working mom. I don't necessarily want someone to rush me through it. I want it to be on your own pace. And of course, you're able to download and keep that workbook forever. So one final note before I get to your questions, and Greg will come in here so that I can go through the questions with him. Mr. Rogers was a mentor for me when I was a preschooler because I watched his show. I was his #1 fan. I kind of stalked him a little bit because I needed to know that he got a master's in child development and then I got my master's in child development. I loved that he talked to kids with respect. I loved that he gave us information that we really couldn't get very many other places. I loved how he broke that fourth wall and talked to me. And basically, I want to do the same that Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood and Mr. Rogers did for me with you. And of course, I pieced everything together because I really didn't have him one-on-one to help me. But I want this to be a little bit easier for you than it was for me. I want you in on my approach to quality kids media because I think kids deserve it. I think you deserve it. I think for some reason we don't all talk about this process very openly, and I think we should. I want to give you a community of supportive people to share your work with because it's so exciting to do that, and it really helps you to keep going when things get a little bit tough. And that's why I made this program. So if I could help one person the way Mr. Rogers helped me, it would mean the world to me. Let's go through some of the questions. Miss Julie, hello. I've seen your stuff out there actually in social. Very cute. Very fun.
Hey there, how are you?
How are you?
Good. I'm so excited to be here today, and thank you so much for sharing all of this knowledge with us. It's been incredible.
I'm so glad. I'm just reading through your what you've been doing. Did you have a question for me in here?
Yes. So our show is actually out, and I think I've actually been following you for so long. I watched Blue's Clues growing up. My siblings watched Blue's Clues, and now my daughter watches Daniel Tiger. So I'm just such a huge fan. We actually do Ugga Nugga every night before bed, and I love it. So one of the questions I have now that our show is out, and we are a team, really all of our team are all owners of the show together. But one issue that we are having is making it scalable. So I wanted to ask you what your thoughts are on that. I know that's kind of a really big general question, but do you have any tips in regard to making a show scalable?
I'd have to look, Julie, a little bit more detailed into your concept, but in terms of getting things out and posting and understanding and doing the formative research with kids and seeing how you can grow it organically, I know this sounds like a weird answer, but I do think it will grow in that way organically versus trying to like, I don't know, partner with somebody right now or trying to go out and you know what I mean? What that's literally what I told Rachel was like, just keep doing what you're doing. If you need more information in terms of like creative ideas, then the creative community will help. If you need a little bit more about themes, the formative research would help. You know, if you need a little bit more about, you know, reach, I think the idea of some social media management books, like trying to understand how to do that. And then, you know, as you have more numbers, people will also find you, which is really interesting and lovely. How long have you been doing your show?
Thank you. We put the show out on June 7th. That was when our pilot came out. And we are about to put out our second episode. So if you search Miss Julie's World on YouTube, you'll find it. And I truly love it. It's something that speaks so much to me and like how I love to teach. I'm a former kindergarten teacher and musician, and it's a really fun show. But yeah, so we're working on getting the second episode out now. But it's hard. It takes time, and right now my partners are all business owners too. So I'm kind of just every week like, let me get in there on Wednesday, you know, as much as possible. Thank you so much. And I think that's excellent advice.
Totally. I
Trying
mean,
to focus on the organic part.
yeah, you're still new, right? You got to give it some time to bubble up. That's exciting though. Good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Woo. Um, thank you, Julie. I see somebody's hand up. Nina, do you have a question?
I've been drawing lots of animals throughout my life, and I was like wanting them to be in their. I keep imagining stuff while running around the house, imagining in their own episode, but like sometimes I get zoned out occasionally.
That happens to everyone. And so you have to jumping inside and remembering why you want to do it and giving yourself that grace and that time to just really play. Like remember, like you enjoying it and playing within it will start to bring more and more ideas, but they're adorable. They're cute. I would definitely say to keep going.
I want to say that you tackled autism really well on Blue's Clues and you and Daniel Tiger. Just saying how different, yeah, everyone's autism is different no matter who they are. And I'm sure I can say lots of people in here in the meeting are autistic, just like myself.
Absolutely.
Yep, same here.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
And I just want to make a series that kids of all ages can enjoy, and if they pick a character they can relate to.
No, definitely keep playing. Thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome, Angela. I'm happy to be on this meeting. This might be the answer that I needed to help get my show my concept off the ground.
Okay, good. I'm so glad. Greg just handed me a question, if you don't mind. How do you balance between too much focus testing and not enough? Really what we're trying to do there is to take your like a storybook of your idea, concept of your idea, and you're going to read it to kids, let's say, and get some information from it that enables enough. Like I would say it depends on how many kids you have access to. So I don't want to say it's a specific number, but answering the questions that you need answered. Do kids understand what you're trying to say? Your goal of what it was that you were putting out in your script, is that what they're taking away from? Do you have access to talking to teachers or parents to see if kids are actually playing out your idea? Those are the kinds of things to see. You don't want to over science everything because creativity always wins, but really truth of the matter is the kids always win. That's how we would do it in our meetings. It was like, if the kids really didn't understand a specific order of clues, we would change it, right? I would say make sure that you're consistently doing the research to answer the questions that you have.
That was my question. Thank you, Angela.
You're welcome. How do you convince networks to take a risk on a unique idea when it seems they only like being greenlit on reboots? That's a Jessie question. That is very, very true. It is true that people are really interested in things that they think will 100% be successful. And not that this is easy, but like what Julie is doing on YouTube, it's like being able to go out there and trying to put your show or your concept not only on paper, not only with the designs, but also potentially being able to make it in a very early way. Like, I'm not saying to put like a ton of money into it. It's more like, how can you test that concept? Because the more you have people watching you do that, and having that grow, the more people will come and look at you. Because right now, people are very focused on what they think is going to be instantly recognizable, right? Like a book series or a movie, but they also are looking at YouTube because that's where kids are. So there's a ton of people doing what they did with Coco Melon, doing what they did with Miss Rachel, where they take her content and license it on Netflix. So, it is a creator's time, because everyone is watching what creators are doing right now. If you have preschool songs recorded and engineered, is there a specific way to get in touch with agents who pitch to license?
Yes.
It's hard, right? I definitely focus more on the overall creative and creativity and the idea versus the actual production in this particular methodology. I think that it is in the same way that you do reach outs to everybody on LinkedIn, people that you know, that you're constantly talking to people. It's probably nothing that you haven't already done. It's just consistently being out there trying to get people to listen to your stuff, if that's the avenue that you want to go in.
Thank you, Angela. Very nice. Thanks.
When I write, I'm very in tune with my own childhood, which is very different from most other kids' childhoods due to being autistic. Will my not knowing as much about normal kids hinder, quote unquote, normal kids, hinder my ability to write realistically relatable stories? Great for a niche audience, perhaps, but maybe not for the masses. Thoughts? This is Joshua. It's my friend Joshua. What you need to remember is how much Blue's Clues impacted the autistic community. Therefore, in my opinion, it's the same simplicity and elegance that it comes from talking either directly to your audience or making sure that the themes are simple that relate to every kid and adults. Like, if you look at some of the hit shows for adults, they're also very simple in concept. And to me, there's elegance in that poetry of simplicity, and that also helps. So no, I don't think it hinders you one bit. If anything, I think thinking differently gives you an edge. I met Craig Bartlett, yay, he's a great guy, last year, and he told me how for networks like PBS, they aren't interested in a show unless there's a curriculum behind it. Does every network follow that rule? I'm thinking of shows like Oswald, where it's sort of a simple slice of life, good laugh for young viewers. Great question. I believe that every show should have a curriculum behind it, and the level of curriculum changes. So for Nickelodeon, Oswald still had a point of view. They didn't necessarily call it a curriculum, but it had a point of view. Then it was a book series before it became a TV series. So he had something, Oswald, that he was learning in every episode, right? About himself and about his friends. I think for PBS, it is more structured. The curriculum is more structured, which is why when Super I went over there for reading, it made so much sense. So depending on who you're talking to, Apple also likes a curriculum. It's either a little bit smaller or a little bit bigger. And really, when I say curriculum, it could be as detailed as a huge, manuscript about how to teach kids to read, or as simple as this is kindness and how I'm going to show real aspects of kindness and how my characters are going to do that. We're going to show them opening doors for others. We're going to show them saying thank you. We're not necessarily going to be out there saying be kind, but we're going to show it and we're going to model it. So there's a lot of ways to go about it. But I think when you have that foundation, it really helps. What's the best way to ensure educational frameworks in child psychology if you don't have a background in that from an education training perspective? Any resources you recommend or a strategy? Yes. My bonus module is all about child development and using it in storytelling. And there's some research in there that you can go look up, which is Dr. Dan Anderson has a ton of research that he's done on early days of Electric Company and Sesame Street that you can follow, looking at what Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood has done. There's also, if you Google now, like there are even studies for Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood where they looked at kids 10 years later and how as teenagers, they're still using the strategies they learned as preschoolers. Like there's things like that that are also really interesting. I also recommend the book called Molly is 3 by Vivian Paley. It's like a little story of a preschool classroom, but the entire little story is like drenched in child development. I used to give it out in a little basket for a welcome basket when anyone started at Blue's Clues, because it was one of the things that I thought was like child development in a little nugget. And then the more you look at those resources, the more it'll open up and you'll find some other things. Just make sure that you know where they're coming from and if they're truly academic journals, and that you understand the study. But that's where I would focus in, would be the studies on kids in media and learning and how they learn through media. Regarding the story engine and its 100+ ideas, how top of mind is the concern for the episodes becoming repetitive? How vital is it not to repeat a lesson, or is it okay to repeat if the context of the learning is different? I think this is Jessie. I think the repetition is the key to learning. So it's the type of repetition, right? You're never doing the exact same thing every single time. You are either intrinsically motivating the audience or you're scaffolding your repetition, right? So it's like a little bit harder, a little bit harder. Like if you think of a game, right? It's the same game, same rules, same thing you're doing, but it gets a little harder, a little harder, a little harder. That's definitely part of it. But let's also say something like, I don't know, sharing, right? 5,000 preschool shows have already done sharing as a concept, but each one is different. And you could do it from all the angles, right? The angle we used for Daniel Tiger was you get a turn, but then I get it back. Because that was the fear that kids had of like, if I share it with you, you might just take it, you know? And so like there's a million ways that you can look at how it might make you feel. So yes, I love repetition. I love seeing stories from various angles. So I'm never worried about too much. Do you think there are potential dangers of posting your show on socials before it becomes a reality? For example, other people plagiarizing, data scraping for AI training that will plagiarize, etc. This is from John. You know, there's always a chance. I agree with you. I totally understand. But the chances of people finding you and you becoming quote unquote viral, and or finding an audience that truly love your concepts and love your show, to me, outweigh it. I've been telling people to jump on YouTube and socials since the beginning. You know, like when we only have a certain number of shows I can put on my development slate. And I wish I had done it way back then, you know, because it's amazing to see the experimental type of content that's out there and the kinds of things that are really resonating with kids. And if you do it with that vision and mission and you really want the quality out there, then I think that it's a win-win in my opinion. As someone who hopes to get their kids show made and put on YouTube, especially knowing crowdfunding will eventually be needed, when is the right time to start bringing up my concept on socials or in videos? Is there a time that's too early? I often worry about things like people taking the idea. If I reveal it too soon, before I can protect or release it. So one of the things that, and I agree, okay, like, so I'm not making light of that as some, you know, a worry. However, when you think of, I always talk about puppets, right? Like anyone can make a puppet, but only Jim Henson will make the Muppets, right? So only you will tell the story in the way that you will tell it. And so in terms of too early, I think it would be to make sure you have a character, a story engine, and your world done in a way that you can articulate it. So whether you're narrating the story because you don't want to necessarily animate it right now, or you're flip booking through, you know, your drawings to get them to just move a little bit, or you're using some of the AI programs to get your stuff moving, like just something that really tells that story, is going to be more important than just say posting a character right now, right? You want it to be a full-fledged your concept in that way. That's what I would say. And of course, there is always a risk. So I don't want to belittle that, but I do think that we've seen many, many success stories. And we know how hard it is because of the competition, but that's where people are looking right now. People are looking for new creative content that is garnering attention from kids on YouTube. When you are in the earliest stages of creation, should you have a pilot script already written and then a series of concepts for a full season? How many episodes should be fleshed out before pitching? This is from Stephanie. This is also a really good question. At the very beginning, the vision, mission, story engine, story recipe, or how everything comes together, the immersive world building, all of that, the log line, that needs to be done first. Then you can take that and start to think about and flesh out your episode ideas. What kinds of themes would you be writing? I would say people are always looking for 5 to 7 story ideas that have a paragraph or 2 underneath them. And then a script is always great, especially if you're new. If you haven't done a ton of script writing before, writing a script is really important so people can understand that you know dialogue and you know how to write for this audience. And again, if you're doing it for yourself, you're not going to show it to anyone. You're going to be doing it in such a way that you're going to get it out there. But that would be what I would say. There's also some really wonderful behind the scenes of the guy who created Severance. Like he was able to get, and again, you guys should read it, go look, because I'm going to probably botch the story, but he put his script and his stuff into a, he won, what is it that he won? Like a screenwriting contest that got it on the desk. Yeah, it was his very first one, and he got it on the desk of what's his name? I'm tired now. But anyway, my point is he had this whole world building. He had all the rules and he needed someone to help him to take it to the next level, right? So he had everything written and done and then was able to put it out into some contests, which there is, that you can also do as well. So like my point is like do write as much as you can. And for me, I think through ideas when I'm script writing. So that's kind of my first go-to. But yes, that's what you would need when you start pitching. But it will be something that would be the follow-up. Like that's not the first thing you send, but then they'll be like, do you have a script? And then you're like, yes, I do. What'd you say?
I just want to say thank you so much. I really appreciate it. This has been so helpful and so inspiring. So thank you.
Of course. Thank you. I think, okay, 2 more. I recently brought my children's book to a YouTube series on my own. Do you see networks picking up shows from YouTube, or is it okay to independently bring it to life and also submit for networks at the same time? Yes and yes. I think that submitting it to networks is also something you can do as well. And they're also looking for you, right? So when you start to garner an audience, they want you as well. I can't tell you how many conversations I've been in at Kidscreen where people are trying to find the next big thing. And big thing is relative. Doesn't even need to be millions of subscribers anymore. It's literally like, is it resonating? Have they heard about it? And in what way did they hear about it?
Thank you for answering that, Angela.
You're welcome. What's your advice for people who have been out there pitching for a while but aren't able to get in touch with places like Apple and Netflix because they can't afford an agent? Logan. An agent shouldn't be something that you have to afford. It is more about pitching your stuff to have an agent believe that they could then help you sell it. Just so you know, you're not going to pay an agent anything. And if they're asking you for money, then they're not a real agent. So just know that, first of all. And then in terms of getting in touch, there are, like Nickelodeon has it, I know Disney has it, like that you can be submitting stuff during certain rounds to be able to put, I think Netflix also, to be able to put your stuff if you're new and you don't necessarily have an agent to put on there. There are also entertainment lawyers at various levels where sometimes they don't take any money and then they'll take 10% if you get it sold, something like that. So you can also look into that realm. And again, like, getting it sold is harder right now than it is. I mean, they're both hard, right? Getting it sold is hard, but also making it on your own is hard. So finding some people that you can collaborate with potentially who believe in what you're doing to try to help you figure out how to get it up there in maybe a different way than you would have thought could be a really interesting angle. Is it better route to try to get a show sold on a network like Netflix or a nonprofit like PBS who is spending on new programming these days? That's from Donald. I actually think the question is twofold. I think you own the show if you sell it to PBS Kids because they only give you a third of the money. And now without CPB funding, they you only get a third of the funding and you have to go out and find 2/3 of the funding. With CPB, we were able to get a ready to learn grant for something like Super Y, who also gave us a third. So then we had to go out and find another third of the money of the budget, right? So if your budget, I'm not going to do the math for you, but you know what I mean? I was about to try and I would not have done well. But when you sell it to someone like a Netflix, basically, then they own the show, which is fine. And then they give you, fees and writing fees and stuff like that. If it's live action, you can do, Writers Guild, you can get part of that, blah, 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 which is residuals and such. Because PBS is having the issues it's having, that's fewer and far between, but everyone is also a little bit fewer and far between. There was a heyday there where Netflix was throwing, getting a lot of shows and really building their content up. And it'll happen again, which is why now is the right time to develop. Now is the right time to dig into your concept and make sure you're ready for when everyone is opening back up again, and looking for content.
Hey, Angela, it's Don. Hi. Thanks for taking the question. So really quickly with the PBS thing, I'm just not clear on. Do you eventually, after the show airs, still continue to own the show, or do they, because it's nonprofit? Okay, can you just explain that to me really quickly? So
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, I think because you're coming out and you have to fund a lot of it yourself to begin with, and also because it's public broadcasting, it is owned by either you or the production company that you partner with in order to get the show made. Because also that's the other piece of it, is that if they're going to give you a chunk of money, they want to know that you're able to then deliver on that. They have had instances where people have not been able to deliver on it, and that's been a problem. But it is your IP when you work with PBS.
So then that money that they give you to help develop the show after that show airs, that's it? Like they don't want any part of the show after that?
No, it depends on your show. They will still do a deal potentially where they get a
Okay.
percentage of your show.
Oh, okay.
Is the way Netflix would do it, which is you would get a percentage and they would own it.
Got it. Okay, cool. Thank
And
you. That was
again,
very
things
helpful.
are changing. Let's just say things are changing. So any deal could be on the table right now, but that has been what it's been up until now. There's a couple of hands up. What advice would you give to a small grant-funded, locally reflective show want to increase its reach to a wider audience? I mean, I probably sound like a broken record right now, but if you have a show that has a small grant and has been funded, are you able then to put it up on YouTube? I'm not saying that you'll get the audience, but the audience is there, in order to, you know what I mean? That's where all the kids are. So that would be where I would use socials. I would use YouTube. I would use, the fast channels. I would definitely keep looking in terms of that wider audience to try to be where kids are. And that's where they are, right? I see 4 hands up. I think those would be my 4 last questions.
Hey.
Noah?
The whole thing has been really great, but I just wanted to share with you this article that I made talking about how the stuff I watch and some of the stuff now is more developmentally better for kids than a show I actually dislike, which is Coco Melon. I just posted it in the chat, so if you want to take a look at it at some point, you can.
Awesome. I probably will agree with you, but I will look at it. Thank you. Zaria, do you want to ask a question?
Yes, please. My name is Zaria, by the way. I'm working on the show where it's like I'm working on it has like this line that says that play and pretend becomes a best friend. Her name is Julia Joy, and she has like this brilliant show where she turns imagination into a fun adventure. But I want to know, is there any tips or advice should I use if only one person is in the show?
I hope you're talking to camera then, if there's only one person in the show. Who are they talking to?
Let's say if someone's in like a simple background and maybe if there's somebody like a sidekick, what would you recommend what a children's sidekick should be like a cartoon character or a puppet character?
Well, I don't necessarily know you need a sidekick. I do think you can do one character and make it very engaging, and bringing imagination to life is a really awesome, fun concept and idea. I think for a sidekick, it could be anything, I think it's really why. Like for Blue, it was because we wanted to show that kids who can't even talk are still so smart. You know, like what would be the reason and what would they do? So it's hard for me to say, but I do think that having, you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with one character.
Oh, okay. Thanks. I really do appreciate that.
Of course. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Hi, Alfie.
It's actually pronounced Aoife.
Yeah,
I
thanks,
knew I
Ava.
was going to say it wrong. I'm so sorry.
It's an Irish thing.
Yeah, I'm Irish. I've had these characters developed for a while, and originally created them for a musical, as you can see kind of here. But now I'm kind of going for a more like making an animated series with them. I want it to be a lot more like story driven, like a lot more plot driven. There's not really going to be a formula, and it's aimed at a slightly older demographic, not quite preschool, but not quite, you know, in that 6 to 12. It's more like for the 4 to 7 demographic. Do those types of shows sell as well as a preschool shows that are more formulaic?
Well, so everything will have a formula, everything. Adult shows, sitcoms, there's a specific formula. So there's because you want to take people through the story so that they need to know what's going to happen at the end. That's kind of the reason. And then 2 to 5 is preschool. 4 to 7 is preschool bridge, at least in the US. This is US based. And then 6 to 11 would be that core kid older audience, and then 9 to 14 is the tweens. And so that's where people will pick things up. It doesn't mean there aren't other ways to look at it, but that's what usually networks are talking about when they talk about the age groups.
The character designs I did, and now I'm working on bringing them into CGI.
Fun.
I've worked with an animator.
Very cool. Damien, do you have a question?
Why, yes. Hi, Angela. How are you today? Swell. I love seeing you. Do you think we'll be able to have another Blue's Clues movie soon?
I wish. I would love another Blue's Clues movie. That was so much fun to write and be part of. Write to Nickelodeon, ask them. That would be so nice.
See you soon.
Bye. Thank you. Ryan, do you have a question?
My question is, do you think that we might get more child development programming? Because it seems like nowadays kids are not growing with the shows that we have currently, even though Bluey is doing that so much well these days, but nowadays like we're not getting a lot of child development programming.
Oh yeah, sometimes it's even secretly hidden in there in terms of the child development, hopefully, you know, that you can see it with that kind of keen eye.
Did you ever meet Mr. Rogers when you were making Blue's Clues?
I did. I met him and I got to go to his set and I got to watch him do his show, and I cried the entire day. We used to write to each other back and forth and stuff. So yeah, I miss him. Are you there, Melania? Or you want to say hi? Just wave. Well, I want to see who else from our
Hello, Angela. Hello, everybody. I am so happy to be here. I am so moved for your kindness. And what I want to say is that if you love this webinar, that is being amazing, the masterclass and the community and the workbook is this 1 million times more. So if you're thinking about signing up, do it because you're going to love it. It's changing my way of seeing creativity, imagination, and Angela is an amazing teacher.
Thank you. Megan, are you here?
I'm on.
Hi.
Yeah, I like seeing all you guys here. I don't think you can do this by yourself. You need someone like Angela in your life. You need other people that are doing it with you. And when you do something like this, it's going to give you a common language and it's going to give you a common foundation so that you're able to talk about your ideas and build them together. I don't think you can do this without a group like this. That's my 2 cents. 100% do it.
Great. Look at these community members you can hang out with. They're awesome. Thank you.
I agree with all of that. It's been amazing.
Hey, Becca's here too. Yay! Get this support. Thank you. Supporting me. Thank you.
Of course.
Angela, I had a question.
Okay. Last
Yeah,
question.
I'm just so flabbergasted right now that I actually get to be a part of this with you. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Anytime. So yeah, was actually thinking of starting a little web series on my own for preschool children, and my series is about like magic, about two siblings having a magic closet, and like because I guess where I'm really stuck is like having like my own kind of mystery themed show, but not copying Blue's Clues because the last thing I want to do is copy Blue's Clues. So what are your thoughts about that?
I think similarly to me, looking at Fred Rogers and being like, oh my God, he talked to the camera, let me do something like it. That's in honor of it. And I would say to like, the more you read, like, or look at get a Blue's Clues script even and look at the way in which we were able to write it. I feel that they're all online now. I feel like you'll be able to look at those moments and then put your own siblings in there instead of Steve. And in terms of using it as like a little safe space, I think could be really cool.
Right, okay, thank you so much. And as an aspiring actor myself, I just cannot wait when the day I come to audition for one of your projects and have the day to call you boss.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Awesome.
I could
Thank
cry.
you.
Thank you,
I'll cry right
Angela.
now.
Thank you, Angela.